This is part 64 of ASP.NET MVC tutorial. In this video, we'll discuss implementing sort functionality in an MVC application. We'll be working with the example that we started in part 62, so please watch part 62 and 63 before proceeding with this video. We want to support bidirectional sort both on the name and gender columns. So what do we mean by bidirectional sort? When I click on the name column the first time, we want to sort the data based on that name column in the ascending order. If I click on the name column once again, then we want to sort the data in the descending order. So basically, we want to be able to sort in both the directions. This is what is called as bidirectional sort. Notice that at the moment when we navigate to this index view, name and gender columns are not rendered as hyperlinks. So it's not possible to sort the data. Let's see what are the changes that we need to make in order to support sorting functionality. First, we need to make changes to the index action method within the home controller itself. So here is the index action method within the home controller. The first thing that we need to do is to introduce that sort by parameter. This is going to be of type string, and we're going to make use of viewBag object. So viewBag dot, and let's use a dynamic expression, sort name parameter. You can give it any meaningful name you want, and this one is going to be equal to string dot is null or empty. So if this sort by expression is null or empty, if that is true, then I'm going to store name DESA in this dynamic expression, else I'm going to store an empty string. Now this code may not be clear at this moment, but don't worry, in a bit you'll understand how we are going to make use of this sort name parameter. Okay, similarly, sort gender parameter. Now if sort by is equal to gender, then store a value of gender descending within that, else store gender. Now this may not be clear at this moment, don't worry, we're going to talk about this in just a bit. Alright, and the next change that we want to do is basically we want to change this code as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create a variable called employees, and this is going to get all the employees, but then I'm going to use this asQueryable extension method. Now what is the advantage of using this extension method? The advantage is that we can apply several filters. Like for example, I can apply a where clause on this employees. I can order the employees there. Okay, so I can apply all these operators on this object, and then when we call toList, it's going to go execute that query all at once on the database. Okay, now what is going to happen if I don't use this asQueryable? Let's actually look at that in actions. If I don't use asQueryable, and then if I look at this, the change I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of all this code. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this code as well, and we're going to say employees is equal to employees.where. So we are basically applying that where clause. Okay, now look at this. Since I'm not using asQueryable here, it's not possible to use that where extension method. If I want to be able to use that where extension method, let's use asQueryable. Now that error should go away. Okay, similarly we're going to do the same thing here as well. So I'm going to get rid of all that. Okay, so what did we do until now? We have applied the where filter depending on what is our search by parameter. We have discussed about this parameter in our previous sessions of this video series, so please watch part 62 and 63 before proceeding with this session. Alright, the next thing is to implement the sort functionality itself, and to do that I'm going to make use of the switch statement. Switch, we are going to switch on this sort by parameter that's going to come into this index action method. Okay, so if sort by is, let's say, name descending. If that's what is being passed into this action method, then we want to sort the data based on the name column and in the descending order. Okay, so employees is equal to employees dot order by descending x such that x dot name. So we are sorting in the descending order of the name column, and then break. Okay, similarly, if that order by is gender descending, then we want to order by descending but based on the gender column. On the other hand, if it contains simply gender, then what should happen? We want to order the data based on the gender column but in the ascending order. So simply get rid of this descending keyword. Okay, now the default behavior should be that, when we first navigate to this view, obviously there wouldn't be any value for that order by parameter. In that case, by default, we want to sort the data based on the name column in the ascending order. So that should be the default behavior. So in the default case, that's what we are going to have. So this is going to be default, and we want to order by name. Okay, alright, so what did we do until now? We have applied the where extension method, and we have applied the order by depending on the value that is contained in sort by, and finally we need to return paged list back, because remember in the previous session we discussed implementing this paging. So to retain that paging, we need to return a paged list back. So I'm going to take this employee object, and then let's convert that to paged list using this toPagedList function. And if you remember, this function expects two parameters, that is the page number and the page size. Where are we going to get the page number from? Using this parameter page. And remember, that can be null. So if page is null, then use 1 as the page number, and then the page size is going to be 3. If it's not null, then whatever value that's contained within this page parameter will be used. Okay, and we need to pass this to our view. So let's simply return a view from here. Okay, so that is the change that we have to do to the index action method. Now this piece is still a little unclear, but in a bit you'll understand how we are going to use this sort name parameter and sort gender parameter. So let's flip to the index view. Notice that at the moment name and gender, when we navigate to that view, they are not rendered as hyperlinks, so we need to convert them into hyperlinks. And in our index view, this is the piece of code that's rendering those columns. Okay, so now to render hyperlinks, we can use action link HTML helper. So at HTML dot action link, and the first parameter to this method is that we need to pass the name of the link. So what's the name of the link that you want? We want name as the link text. And then the second parameter is the action name that we want to invoke when I click on that link. So when we click on this name column, which action method do we want to invoke? We want to invoke the index action within the home controller. And the next parameter is the root values, and this is very important. So what are the root values that we need to pass? Okay, so we need to first of all pass the sort by parameter. Okay, so sort by, and where are we going to get the value for this sort by? Look at this, the first time when the data gets when we navigate to this index view, what's going to happen? Is there sort by here? No, sort by is not there. So since sort by is not there, what's going to happen? It's going to check, okay, is sort by null or empty? Yes, it is null or empty. So what are we going to store in the viewBack object for the sort name parameter? Name descending. Okay, this expression returns true, so this is what we are going to store in this sort name parameter. Okay, and then what happens? It checks, okay, it comes here, sort by. What is sort by at the moment? It's null. So if it's null, what happens? It's going to sort the data in the ascending order of the name column, and that gets returned. Okay, so the data will be sorted in the ascending order of the name column. But then in the viewBag object, what will be stored? For sort name parameter, name descending. Okay, so within the index view, what's going to happen? It's going to pull that value. So within this sort name parameter, we will have name descending. So that is what will be passed into the sort by parameter. So it will be name descending. So the link that it is going to generate will have something like, navigate to MVC demo /home/index question mark sort by is equal to name descending. So when we click on that link, what is going to happen? Name descending will be passed as the value for the sort by parameter. And if that is the case, what's going to happen? Is it null or empty? No. So in that case, it's going to store an empty string. And then what happens down the line? So it checks sort by, it's name descending. So it's going to order the data in the descending order of the name column. So that's how these sort name parameter and sort gender parameter are used. Okay? So along with this sort by, if you remember, we are also supporting paging and search functionality. So in order to retain, we need to retain those as well. So basically we need to have search by. And where are we going to get the value for search by parameter? We're going to get it from the query string. So request.queryString, and we discussed about this in the previous session, so please watch that video. Alright, so what's the name of the query string? It's going to be search by, and that's what we are going to pass here. And similarly, we also need to retrieve search parameter value. So where are we going to get that from? Again, from the query string. So we can either use request.queryString of that query string param name, or you can simply say request of the query string name. Okay, so that is going to generate, the name column as a hyperlink, and we need to do the same thing for gender as well. So let's copy and paste this, but we need to make slight modification here. The column name has to be gender, and here the sort by is going to get its value from sort gender parameter. So let's pass that right here. Alright, let's build the solution and let's refresh this view. Now, once the view is refreshed, we should have name and gender columns rendered as hyperlinks. And notice that they are rendered as hyperlinks. I can click on them. So notice that the data, when the view first loads, it's sorted in the ascending order. Now if I click on the name column, look at that. I don't want to click on the name column, but when we view the page source, look at what's going to happen. MVC demo / look at the sort by parameter. Sort by is equal to name descending. %20 stands for space, so name space descending. So now that's what is contained in sort by. So when I click on that name once again, look at what is passed. Sort by name descending, and that's what gets passed to the controller action method. So sort name parameter, sort by is not null or empty, so it's going to store an empty string. Okay, and then at the moment sort by contains name descending, so it's going to sort the data based on name column in the descending order. Okay, so that's how, at this point it should be clear on how we're using these two parameters. Okay, but then there is a slight problem with this at the moment. Look at that, now the data is sorted in the descending order, which is fine. So if we go to the second page, all is well. But then look at this, when I sort, for example, by gender. Okay, so the data is sorted by gender. Now look at this, when I go to the second page, it's mixed up again. We lost the sorting. Why is that? That's because when we click on these page numbers, we will have to retain, look at that, when we click on sort, we have that sort by. The moment I click on any of the page numbers, we will lose that sort, we are losing that sort by query string. So we need to retain that. In order to retain that, we have to pass it, in our view where we are rendering those pager links. So this is the code which generates those pager links, and here we need to pass that parameter as well. So what is the parameter name? Sort by. That one is going to get its value from, again, URL. So request, what is the name of the parameter? Sort by. So let's pass it there, and let's see if it works as expected. Now let's go ahead and let's save everything and refresh this view. So let's navigate to the home view and see if it's going to work as expected. Okay, so let's sort by gender. Okay, so it's sorted by gender. Now I navigate to page 2. Look at that. We have all males and all males there. So we are not losing that sorting even when we page through. Alright. On this slide you can find resources for ASP.NET, C# and SQL Server interview questions. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.